Greetings and salutations, everybody. Welcome back, or if you're new, welcome for the first time. I like to make these little videos about films that I enjoy and want to share. Sometimes it's 80s stuff, horror. Sometimes it's new. Sometimes it's old. Just it's a bit of a mixed bag. But also, if you enjoy this video, please give me a thumbs up and consider both subscribing and hitting that little bell icon to get notifications for when I put up new content, which is usually once or twice a week. Sometimes I throw in a third if I have time. So anyways, also while you're here, check out some of my older stuff. Once this video concludes, which, this one is a bit of a quick one. And this is the one that we're going to focus on, the 1986 comedy film, Ruthless People, which has a great 80s cast, including Danny DeVito, Bette Midler, Judge Reinhold, Helen Slater, and Bill Pullman, among many other very recognizable faces in here. And the synopsis for this film is as follows. A couple cheated by a vile businessman kidnaps his wife in retaliation, not knowing that their enemy is delighted that they did. So yeah, it's a very simple setup. But there's a bit more going on in this one than one might expect. And on top of all that, Danny DeVito, Bette Midler, and the rest of the cast really bring their comedy A-games to this. We have some really well-written scenarios. And but yeah, there's also some other aspects to this. So like the synopsis says, Danny DeVito is delighted. That's because he really hates his wife. He goes into some detail in the beginning when he's having lunch with his mistress. Shows you what kind of guy he is with that he's planning to kill her. Yeah, good stuff there. So the idea that he is planning to kill her, comes home, finds out that she's missing, and gets this phone call stating that she's been kidnapped and will be killed if he doesn't pay a ransom or even notifies the police or the media or anything. So it's a win for him, something to celebrate, and of course he notifies everybody. So meanwhile, his mistress, knowing that he's going to be killing his wife, as he says, is planning to blackmail him and try to record what he's going to be doing. And she's kind of planned this blackmail with her boyfriend slash boy toy, played by Bill Pullman, who is doing such an excellent job in this. He's truly this complete dimwit. And, while looking at Spaceballs, this makes sense, seeing what kind of comedy he can bring to it. When I look at things like Serpent and the Rainbow or later on Independence Day and especially Torchwood, it's really hard to imagine that this is the same actor. But let's get back to this. So Bette Midler's character, as it says, was kidnapped. So who are these evil and dastardly kidnappers? Frickin' Judge Reinhold and Helen Slater, actors who are usually seen in some pretty soft roles, as they bring that soft, weak feeling right to these characters as well. We even get a scene where Reinhold's character, who works at a stereo shop by day, backtracks on trying to sell a giant stereo, expensive speaker system to this kid who's played by Gary Riley of Summer School and Stand By Me, when he sees that his girlfriend is pregnant. So even as a salesman, he can't quite pull the trigger on something that he doesn't feel right about. So what's really interesting is that the softness that he and Helen Slater bring to those roles, that comedy works great because it's going up right against the intensity that Bette Midler brings. She's playing a very outspoken and quite angry, as is understandable given her situation, kind of woman in this. She's screaming, hurling insults every chance, throwing things at them, and even just getting her from the van that they kidnapped her into the kidnapper's home is quite an ordeal, and she puts up this crazy fight that turns very violent, even considering that she's all bagged up and can't even see what's going on. She finds a way to still deal out some damage during all this. But also, as we've seen a lot of 80s comedies, we get some misunderstandings with some of the characters, which, causes some comedy, of course. The mistress's plan to blackmail is misfiring completely. The cops aren't understanding what's happening with the kidnappers because, the kidnappers are confused about why Danny DeVito is not following through with their demands and so on. Because, after all, why would he follow through with something to keep her safe when he was planning to kill her all along? And now, while this, throughout this film, from one, kind of crazy comedic scene to another, some of these misunderstandings are cleared up here and there. We even get an entire switch over towards the ending, or at least happening well into the film. And on top of all that, some peak 80s style and fashion just thrown in everywhere. Just seeing the home that Danny DeVito lives in the beginning, it's kind of obnoxiously 80s, if that's even a term I can kind of put together for that. And of course, while the synopsis may seem a little bit light, as I said, there is more going on here. And, not just that, but there are these little comedy bits, these little bits kind of thrown in, comedic scenes here and there that kind of stitch this whole film together and in a way that somehow, makes a comedy feel non-stop while also being a decent and interesting caper of a comedy, with this title, which I don't really hear much about these days. It seems to have kind of been forgotten. But, because it seems like back in the 80s, there was kind of like this boom of comedies, some really great comedies. And only those top ones seem to really live on, and some of the very decent ones are kind of rarely spoken of. Sometimes they don't age well, or, maybe the comedy falls flat for various reasons, or it's just not relatable, or maybe there's something that these days are kind of, considered a bit insensitive, and they just kind of fall away. But this is one that's held up really well over the past, 35 plus years, and is highly worth checking out. And speaking of checking out, thanks for checking out this latest entry. Ruthless People from 1986 at the time of this recording is available pretty much just on paid rental. I don't know why Disney hasn't included this, since technically it was from Touchstone, so you would think it'd be on Disney Plus, but at least here in America, all I could find it available at was for paid rental. But, check around, you might be able to find it somewhere else, and yeah, it's definitely worth giving a shot. So thanks for sticking around to the end, and I will see you in the next one.